A few moments later.
Whoa! Good job, Squirt, with that Apex Zinogre!
Thanks, Fugan.
Oh, it was a real bloodbath, man!
Bloodbath? Diablos! Hello, my fellow hunters! I hope you are enjoying your Apexes, I hope you're enjoying your Rise, and I hope you're ready to relive Bloodbath Diablos in all his glory and pain. Oh gosh. But before we get ahead of ourselves, well, let's answer the question you're probably asking. What? Bloodbath Diablos? What are you talking about? Deviants are long gone. Well, are they? Apex Azeroth is, well, Red Helm Azeroth shares the moves. Apex Rathian is, well, Dread Queen Rathian shares the moves. Apex Mizitsune is, well, Solcia Mizitsune shares the moves. Now, don't get me wrong, in all cases, there is a lot of unique stuff going on, especially visually, but at the core of it, the Apexes share a lot of things in common with their deviants, which, you know, makes sense given the same team that made Rise made the deviants. You know, this certainly isn't a coincidence. But does it go further? Yes! Yes it does! Further and further in the training room. Now I'm sure a lot of you know about this, it's a very cool little Easter egg secret, but there is a whole section of this place very much hidden from the hunter, and to get to it you have to look up, you have to raise your eyes to the sky, you have to rise. At the very top, cresting the waterfall, and yeah, you don't have to take this really long, kind of convoluted climbing route, you can just put infinite wirebugs on and be like... But however you get up here, once you arrive, there is a mural, a really quite awesome mural carved into the stone, and it depicts the Rampage, the same kind of way that the loading screen itself depicts the Rampage, and it really is a beautiful piece of art. Well, too is the wall, and on it you can see some quite interesting things. The very left is a representation of Kamura village, and the noble warriors defending it, and as we move further and further right, we get a monstrous roster being depicted upon the rock. But there is something very much of note about these creatures, but there's also something very much of note about the wall itself. It's carved into stone. It is weathered. It is worn. It is hidden away, and it is ancient. There are stone carvings on walls thousands of years old that are in better condition than this wall in our world. So likely this thing is hundreds upon hundreds, maybe thousands upon thousands of years old, at least according to the state of the stone. It's entirely possible that none of the current living residents of Kamura village are even aware of this thing's existence. I mean, if they were, they wouldn't be so surprised by Ibushi, because Ibushi is depicted on here as a swirling serpent above. And notice that Nawa isn't, so this very much is Rampage focused. Ibushi's the one that shows up in the Rampage, Nawa isn't. So what of the monsters on the wall? What of them? Well, from left to right, we have Azeroth, Rathian, Mizitsune, Diablos, Rathalos, and Zinogre. And yes, all of these guys have something in common. Firstly, they all have a deviant, but more importantly and secondly, the first three of them depicted on the wall are the Apexes. Apex Azeroth, Apex Rathian, and Apex Mizitsune. Rathalos we know we are getting in Apex form. So that leaves Zinogre, and it leaves Diablos, still to get their Apex versions. And it makes sense that Rathalos, Zinogre, and Diablos haven't shown up as Apexes yet. The Rampage has essentially just started, according to the story that we hunt through. The Rampage probably lasts a while. We've not managed to stop the instigators of it in the Serpents. They're still alive and making monsters go mental. So it would make sense the longer the Rampage lasts, the stronger and stronger the leaders of the pack become as time progresses. The initial forays led by an Azeroth, but the final assault led by a Diablos. That's just a cool natural progression, and as each of the updates comes along, the Apex strength that gets added with it increases. We know that the second title update involves an ending to the story of the game. So if the first one gives us Apex Rathalos, the second one giving us Apex Zinogre and Diablos as the final Apex challenges is, well, a nice little order of things, is it not? I am very much convinced of it, and why else would I be convinced that this wall is the Apex wall? Well, it's an ancient carving done by people who have obviously experienced the Rampage a long time ago in Kamura Village. The Kamura Village has dealt with the Rampage as part of its very fabric, of the history of the whole society here. It happened 50 years ago, sure, but it probably happened 50 before that, and 50 before that, and so on and so forth, stretching back hundreds if not thousands of years. So of course this village is going to make a monument to this apocalyptic event they come together and survive through as a village family every time it happens. And what would you depict on that? Well, clearly the most threatening, powerful, noteworthy members of the Rampage, the Apexes, and it acts as kind of a clock going from left to right. The Rampage begins with Azeroth helming the Horde, and you know it's perhaps coming to an end when Diablos and Zinogre become the ones in charge. Maybe it is cyclical, maybe as time goes on the Rampage gets more and more powerful, but as it does so it also gets closer and closer to petering out. They always imply that they don't necessarily beat the Rampage, they just weather the storm until it ends. But what would cause this Rampage? Well, I have a whole video I want to talk about that, but to me, the answer seems kind of obvious. The Serpents are the instigators, and they are desperately trying to find each other to have serpent baby.
Where is my queen? My king? Where is my queen? Oh, my king.
So, clearly, to me, the breeding cycle of the Thunder Serpents is once every 50 years, and a byproduct of them going into Thunder, Howling Wind, Death Serpent breeding season is monsters go crazy. And to be fair, that's kind of cool, though I want to go into that much more in depth in its own video. This is very much focused on the mural, but yeah, it kind of all lines up, which is then to say that Apex Zinogre and Apex Diablos are in our future, and I think that is like 99.9% certain. But where does Bloodbath Diablos come in then if it's Apex? Where does Thunderlord Zinogre come in then if it's Apex? Well, as I said, Mizutsune, Rathian, and Azeroth all borrow heavily from Red Helm, Soulseer, and Dread Queen. They have their deviant moves. They are clearly inspired, or at least based on the deviants. So when we get Apex Rathalos, Apex Diablos, Apex Zinogre, you know what I would bet my bottom dollar they're going to be doing? Well, Zinogre is going to be going mental with lightning like Thunderlord, Rathalos is going to be going mental with fire like Dread King, and Diablos is going to go mental with steam explosions and general death like Bloodbath. And to further hammer this nail home, actual Zinogre in the game, normal Zinogre, and actual Diablos in the game, normal Diablos, both already have moves from Thunderlord Zinogre and Bloodbath Diablos. Zinogre has his extendable lightning strikes, he has his extra wave of lightning when he jumps on his back, he has Thunderlord's amped up lightning abilities. Granted in a minor sense, but still it's there. Diablos is the more egregious example because he literally has Bloodbath's reverse flip tail slam send a boulder flying at you. That is a Bloodbath special, and it is here represented printed on normal Diablos. So of course when the Apex comes along, he's probably going to have a super powerful version of that move, Apexified, perhaps with some steam, a la Bloodbath Diablos. So the TLDR here is this monument tells us 3 things. 1, the Rampage has been happening for a long time. 2, it tells us the Apexes that tend to accompany to the Rampage every time it happens. And 3, it confirms that the Apexes are, well, deviantified because the ones on this wall are all ones that already have deviants. It's not like Rajang is up on here and we're like, oh, we might get Apex Rajang, but he doesn't have a deviant, which would break the entire theory, but no, everything on here lines up, and I think that is absolutely badass. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, look forward to Bloodbath Diablos, Apex Diablos, and Thunderlord Zinogre, Apex Zinogre. Hopefully, maybe, we will see. But in any case, the existence of this little mural is fascinating, and it tells us so much more than initially meets the eye. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, like if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more, and I will see you soon. Please consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below. Goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.